You don't get what you're worth in life. You get what you command out of life, what you demand out of life. And demanding and commanding things out of life alone won't do it either. You have to act on those commands and demands. So whatever you think you're worth, a lot of people, I don't care if you got a degree or a special skill or a trait, or something that nobody else knows. If you can't act on that, if you can't take action and demand what you think in your mind you're worth, then you won't get what you're worth. So in your mind, you can walk around all day and I'm worth $1 million. I'm worth $10,000 an hour. You have to take the action to command that. I'll give you an example, because this is what had me thinking about this morning. So my name's Nick. I went to business school, went to law school, graduated both, got a bunch of businesses. Check out my other video, Who the Hell is Nicky Nice? I'll tell you a little bit more about me, at least back then. I probably have to remake that video. But I'll give you an example of, you get what you demand and command out of life instead of what you're worth, right? So one of my businesses, I got a laundromat business, and I was having this conversation last night with my team about how we're worth more in equity than we are the cash flow. The cash flow just keeps us alive. The equity is the big nut at the end of the day that gets you, a bigger valuation, right? Bigger numbers for your goals. So in that vein, we were talking about cash flow. So we long story short, we put out an ad on Facebook, really super targeted. And before I woke up this morning, we had bites on customers, for a wash and fold service in a very small town. We're testing this model. If we can do this right, we'll scale it. But it's got to work. The numbers got to make sense. So it worked right away, And there's a perfect example of, I think this business could make this much money versus this business can make this much money. Let's do X to make sure that the output, right? Let's put in this input to make sure that we get our output. And so if you want your output to be $10,000 an hour, $1,000 an hour, $100 an hour, $50 an hour, then you have to shift your input. Whatever you're doing right now is not the right input. What do I mean by input? It's kind of mathematical, I guess. After just taking so many damn math classes in college and looking at numbers all the time, I talk in a different language. Input. So if you say 1 + 2 = 3, the number 1 and the number 2 are inputs. The number 3 is an output. Okay? Business models can be formulated into a mathematical equation. Literally. One action plus another action equals, right? And then business can be one action equals that, right? So that input, that action is what gets you your outputs. Too many times people are so focused on the output that they forget about the input, or they don't know where to start with the inputs, right? So they'll say, I want to make $1 million, I want to make $1 million a year, I want to make $1 million a year, or $10 million a year, $100 million a year. And just saying that alone, you have to figure out the action. That's the goal. That's the output. What you want to figure out is, what is the input? What is the input? So, you guys, we can all get what we believe we're worth. But if you're not there currently, that means you're going to have to do something totally different than what you're doing today. So audit your days. Don't let too many days go by where you're not doing something different. And take time to meditate and think about it. I'm not talking about meditate. I'm talking about take the time to think. Wait a second, how do we do this? There's a lot of hours in my office where people, they're looking, they're like, what's he doing? And I'm thinking about, how does that work? Because, the old carpenters, when I used to work in carpentry, they used to say, measure twice and cut once, right? So it's a big part of that. So remember, your action steps, how you act after you demand and command something is important. So number one, you gotta demand it out of yourself, right? So if you feel like you're worth more, demand it by taking action that actually will result in more. Because you could feel like you're worth more, but then you get up in the morning tomorrow and you do the exact same thing you did yesterday, and then you do it again, and you do it again, and said 30 days later, You're not worth more, but you still feel like you're worth more. So, catch up on our feelings, folks, huh? Hey, man, I'm rooting for you guys. If there's any way I can help, check me out, thebusinessplanningguru.com. And I'll be more than happy to help you guys. All right? Have a great one, guys.